We have encountered different sequences of real numbers, and sometimes we see that we have dealt some asymptotic results with respect to a sum of random variables, which may be treated as an infinite sum of random variables. But before that, we have also learned, in order to learn sequence of random variables, we need to know some results, something about some concepts about sequence of real numbers, which we have already learned. So today we will just extend our idea, our knowledge about sequence of real numbers to what is known as series of real numbers. Today we will confine only to the series of real numbers, and we are not going to discuss anything on complex numbers. So first I would like to define what is the meaning of a series and how it is related, or it has some connection with sequence of real numbers. After that, we will discuss a few interesting theorems which is essential in order to prove a few important results regarding series. And remember, and we will show that all these concepts regarding whether we can define, if we define convergence of a series, all these concepts can be deduced from our known knowledge of sequences, or most theorems from sequence of real numbers. We will also discuss a few important series of real numbers which are of utmost importance and which are very common but very, very interesting. So first we will outline the objectives of today's talk. It starts like this. We will first define what is the meaning of a numerical series and what is the meaning of the convergence of this series, because we have already learned something about convergence of a sequence. So let us see whether that idea directly can be applied in case of convergence of numerical series. We will also discuss few theorems, and these theorems are mostly related to how to check whether a series is convergent or not, or even if a series is divergent, how to check that. We will at the end also discuss few examples, as I already mentioned. So let's start with the definition. Now, for a sequence, we know that for a sequence of real numbers, let's call it an, we associate a new sequence, let's call it Sn, where Sn can be written as Sn equals to summation ak, k equals to 1 to n. That means we just consider the sum of the numbers in the sequence from 1 to n, that is the first n terms in that sequence. Now, it is clear that this entire summation depends on n. So, it can be treated as another sequence which we call as Sn. Now, for Sn, we can also use the symbolic expression, like if we expand the summation notation, of course, Sn would be equals to a1 plus a2 plus an. We are more interested in looking at what happens when n goes to infinity. That means, we are looking at summation n equals to 1 to infinity an, that is a1 plus a2 plus an, and so on. So, we use this as the notation of a series. We call this as series, or actually this is called an infinite series or a series simply. Now, it is clear that we are mostly interested in infinite series, because otherwise if we consider something, if we call something like finite series, practically this is of practically no interest, because if the series contains only finite terms, then you can just add and get the value. So, the interesting part is what happens when n goes to infinity. That means we are going to deal with infinite series, or simply we will call from now on this kind of infinite series as a simple series. So, it is clear that a series can itself be treated as a sequence of real numbers. So, naturally the question will come, or the idea naturally come, that can we apply whatever we have learned for a sequence of real numbers, can we apply the same kind of technique, same kind of theorem, or same kind of intuitive idea in case of series of real numbers, or in studying the series of real numbers. Before that, obviously the answer should be positive note, and before that let me first state few facts and introduce few notations. The first one is the numbers Sn are called partial sums of the series. As I just mentioned, that Sn is nothing but the sum of first n terms of a series or of another sequence an. So, Sn can be treated as a partial sum of the series. Now, if Sn, so Sn can be treated, this partial sum can be treated as a sequence. Now, using our idea and using our knowledge in sequence, if we see that Sn converges, or the sequence Sn converges, then we call that the series converges, and we call that limit that the limit where Sn converges, if we call that limit at S, then S can be written as S equals to summation n equals to 1 to infinity an. So, this is the way we define the convergence of a series. It is clear that this convergence is basically defined in terms of convergence of a sequence. There is a very close connection between studying sequences and studying series of real numbers. As I have already mentioned, today's lecture is only concerned about we consider only the real numbers. So, we call S is the limit of the sequence of sums, as I just explained. But remember one thing, this is not really obtained just by simply adding these numbers, because it is very difficult if you just go on adding the infinite number of numbers. So, like sequence, there should be some techniques through which we will be able to find the limiting value, that is S, which is nothing but the limit of the sequence of partial sums, or rather we can think of that this limit is nothing but the sum of that infinite series of real numbers, that is an. So, naturally we have to study this thing in depth way, because we need to know how to find this limit S, or rather the sum of this infinite series, which we simply call. And like the sequence, it can be thought that a series of real numbers can also be divergent, and since the series of real numbers can be considered in terms of sequence of partial sums, so we call that if Sn, or the sequence of partial sums, Sn diverges, then we call that the series also diverges. So, this is a few facts and notations regarding the series where we define the partial sums, just bringing the concept of convergence and divergence and what is the limit of the sequence. So, everything is coming into this field from sequences. Now, there is one important, very important criteria or a condition which we call Cauchy criteria. This is due to Cauchy. Summation an, that is the series, converges if and only if for every epsilon there exists an integer n, say capital N, such that modulus of Sm minus Sn minus 1 is less than epsilon. That is, summation of k equals to n to m is less than epsilon if m greater than equals to n, which is greater than equals to capital N. What does this mean? This means that first you fix an epsilon which can be arbitrarily small, that is epsilon, but it must be positive. Then if we can find a very large integer, let us call it capital N, then whenever two other integers m and n, both of which are greater than or equals to capital N, and m must be greater than equals to n, then sum of these terms of the series, that is ak, when k goes from n to n, that is as if we are just considering the sum from one point to another point, somewhere in the middle of the entire series. If this sum is less than epsilon, then we call that summation n converges, that means the series of numbers converges. And remember one important thing, that this condition is both sided, that means summation n converges. On the other hand, if summation n converges, then obviously summation k equals to n to m must be less than epsilon for this particular choice of n and capital N. So, this is both necessary and sufficient. So, this is one of the most important results in real analysis, and it gives us a necessary and sufficient condition for a series of numbers to be convergent. Next one, we will just state it is as a theorem, which is a very simple thing, which is intuitively very clear, but we need to prove it. That is, if we have a series of real numbers which is convergent, then limit of n goes to infinity must be equals to 0. This means that consider a series of real numbers from the sequence of real numbers an, that means the series is say a1 plus a2 plus and so on, then the nth term goes to 0 as n goes to infinity, provided summation n converges. That means, but remember one thing, that summation n converges implies that limit n equals to 0. So, the natural question will come whether the converse is true. We will get into that discussion in a minute. So, how to prove this? As we have just learned the Cauchy criteria, and we have seen that this is both necessary and sufficient. So, let us use this Cauchy criteria in order to prove this theorem. Let us see whether we can prove this theorem using Cauchy criteria. And in fact, using Cauchy criteria, the proof is obvious, because if we just put m equals to n, we will get this. We are left with only one term, and Cauchy criteria implies that modulus of that am less than epsilon, that means limit n goes to 0. So you see the beauty or the power of Cauchy criteria, just particular choice gives us this important result. Now let's go to the discussion that we left with, that is whether the converse of this theorem is true. Now it is intuitively clear that when summation n converges, then n goes to 0 as n goes to infinity, but fortunately or fortunately the converse is not true, because it may not be true. That means it is not always that it is not true. Sometimes it is true, sometimes it is not true. So in this case we can just give a counter example which shows that although n or the nth term of the series converges to 0 as n goes to infinity, but the series itself or the summation n does not converge. And the classical example is 1 by n, summation 1 by n equals to 1 to infinity. We will show that it can be easily shown that summation 1 by n diverges, but it is clear that 1 by n goes to 0 as n goes to infinity. So although nth term goes to 0 as n goes to infinity, that doesn't necessarily imply that summation n or the series is convergent. Series can actually be divergent. So be very careful whenever we encounter anything. We should be very careful whether the converse is true or false. And if the converse may not be true, we just want to give a counter example. So let us consider another important theorem, which is just a direct consequence of our knowledge from sequence of real numbers. A series of non-negative terms converges if and only if its partial sums form a bounded sequence. That means consider a series of real numbers where each term is non-negative. It may be 0, but it is non-negative. It cannot be negative. And this particular series will converge if and only if the partial sum, that as we defined a few minutes ago, that is Sn equals to summation ak equals to 1 to n, these partial sums will form, that means the sequence of Sn will form a bounded sequence. We are not going to prove this result. You might try this as an exercise, but the proof is extremely simple. Now consider two series. Just now I am trying to give a feel of what is the meaning of a convergent series and what is the meaning of a divergent series. Both are of similar nature, at least it looks like that. So consider these two series. One is summation 1 by n, and we have just seen that summation 1 by n is actually a divergent series. Now interestingly, if we just increase the power of n in the denominator a little bit, the series will diverge. Or let's take a special example, that summation 1 by n square, but summation 1 by n square can be shown to be convergent sequence. So you see 1 by n and 1 by n squared, they look more or less very close to each other, but a slight increase in the power of n in the denominator completely changes the nature of the series of these real numbers. So the question is, these two series looks more or less similar, only the change in the power is there. So the question is how to check whether a series is actually converges. So that's very important. So in order to check whether a series is convergent or not, or rather whether a series is convergent or a series is divergent, we want to study a few theorems or a few interesting results. One of them, but remember, in order to prove these results, we must remember this particular theorem, that a series of non-negative terms converges if and only if its partial sums form a bounded sequence. So one theorem, it's stated as, suppose summation n is a series of numbers such that modulus of an, modulus of the nth term is less than equals to Cn. So let us think that there are two sequences. One is n, another is Cn. Now this n sequence of n numbers actually form the series. That means n is nothing but the nth term in the series, and it is given that modulus of n less than equals to Cn for n greater than equals to some n naught, where n naught is some fixed integer, of course large. Now then summation Cn converges. If this condition is satisfied, this will automatically imply that summation n converges. That means all we have to prove that this sequence which bounds the original sequence, that is summation Cn, whether it is convergent or not. If it is convergent, then automatically it can be shown that summation n converges. Now remember, when I talk about summation an, this an is not, because n is not having this modulus sign, but it is a condition which involves this modulus sign. Now, exactly in the same note, we can state another part of the theorem, which is that if n greater than dn, and for n greater than equals to n naught, where n naught is some fixed integer, of course large, then summation dn diverges implies summation n diverges. So, here we are trying to see the convergence or divergence of the original series in terms of the convergence or divergence of another series, where each term of the new series is greater than or less than the original nth term of the original series. Now, it is important to note that in first part of the theorem there is a modulus sign, which immediately gives us the idea that we can probably, because theorem 2 has a condition that the series should be of non-negative terms, series consists of non-negative numbers. So, when I consider this modulus of n makes the original series summation n to another series might be, or the nth term as non-negative. So, we can probably apply theorem 2 in order to prove this theorem 3. So, let's prove this theorem 3. So, first fix an epsilon, of course arbitrarily small but positive. Now, since it is given that summation Cn converges, then by Cauchy criteria C, we can always find an capital N such that capital N should be greater than equals to n naught. So, such that whenever m greater than equals to n greater than equals to capital N, we will always have summation Ck k equals to n to m less than equals to epsilon for arbitrarily small epsilon, but fixed for this problem. Now, it is obvious that consider summation ak k equals to n to m modulus of this entire sum, which is less than equals to summation of modulus of ak k equals to n to m, just by simple algebraic property of real numbers. And since each modulus of kth term, that is modulus of ak, is less than equals to ck, so immediately we can see that summation k equals to n to m modulus of ak is less than equals to summation k equals to n to m ck, which is again less than equals to epsilon. So, what do we see, that modulus of summation ak k equals to n to m less than equals to epsilon, that means the Cauchy criteria is satisfied. So, again applying Cauchy criteria to this original sequence, we see that the proof is complete. Part B can be proved exactly similarly, noting that it applies only to the non-negative terms of n. Now, let us consider theorem 4. Theorem 4 is very interesting in the sense that here the consecutive terms of the series in which we are interested, their consecutive terms are monotonic. In this case, it is decreasing. So, let us consider that a1 greater than equals to a2 greater than equals to and so on greater than equals to 0, there is the terms are decreasing and each term is non-negative, or rather it can be positive also, it should be non-negative. Then summation n equals to 1 to infinity, this series that consists of this ai's, an's, satisfying the condition that the terms are non-negative and decreasing, converges if and only if we construct a new series like 2 to the power k into a suffix 2 to the power k equals to 0 to infinity, if this series converges. This looks little complicated, but it is extremely interesting if we look at the proof of this theorem, and of course a few more examples that we are going to discuss. So, let us first look at what does it mean. Suppose we have a series like a1 plus a2 plus a3 plus and so on, and we just fetch few terms from this series, not all the terms in the series, but only few terms. Terms are like this. Let us first consider a1, because if we put k equals to 0, then 2 to the power 0 is 1, so n 2 to the power 0 is 1, so we are considering a1. Then if we put k equals to 1, then it would be 2 to the power 1 into a suffix 2 to the power 1, that means twice a2. That means we consider a1, then a2 multiplied by 2, then a4 multiplied by 4, then 8 multiplied by 8, and so on. So, basically we are just considering a very thin sequence, because you see the original sequence is this, and after a4 we are considering the term a8, which is slightly away from a4, and as we move on, this distance between two consecutive terms in terms of the original series is increasing. So, we are basically collecting very few observations, but we are still creating or constructing a new series of real numbers. And we claim that the original series converges if and only if the new series converges. The proof is again followed by the theorem 2, 2, that is a series of non-negative terms, converges if and only if its partial sums form a bounded sequence, because we have seen that these terms are non-negative, so naturally we can use theorem 2. Let's see whether we can do it. So let's Sn equals to a1 plus a2 plus an, and consider Bn is the new sequence, a1 plus a2 2a2 plus dot dot up to 2 to the power k a 2 to the power k. Now just a simple algebra for n less than equals to 2 to the power k. If we write Sn equals to a1 plus, then grouping a2 plus a3 in one group, then grouping a4 to a7 in one group, and so on, we can write immediately using the condition on the terms in the series. Terms are decreasing. We can see that this is less than equals to a1 plus 2a2 plus 4a4 and so on, which is nothing but bk. So we can immediately write that Sn less than equals to bk. Then again, for n greater than 2 to the power k, we can easily show that Sn greater than equals to half bk, or 2Sn greater than equals to bk. So it is clear that 1 and 2 together imply that either sequence Sn and sequence Bn both are bounded or both are unbounded. So naturally, by theorem, direct application of theorem 2, the proof is complete. So here we are just trying to see, or rather we are just trying to bound one sequence by another sequence, and depending on the nature of that sequence, we are proving this theorem. Let's consider a few interesting series. First one is very common geometric series. So n equals to 0 to infinity x to the power n equals to 1 plus x squared plus x to the power 3 and so on. This series converges if 0 less than equals to x less than 1, and diverges if x greater than equals to 1. Now let us first consider x not equals to 1. Then we know that the sum of this series, summation k equals to 0 to n x to the power k, equals to 1 minus x to the power n plus 1 divided by 1 minus x. Now since x not equals to 1, this is defined. Now as n goes to infinity, if x lies between 0 and 1, that means if x is a fraction, then x to the power n plus 1 goes to 0. So this series is convergent. If x equals to 1, then what is Sn? Sn is the partial sum of first n terms, that is 1 plus, they are all n. So the sum is n. The sequence itself, sequence of partial sums, is nothing but n, which is immediately, we can see that it is divergent. Remember one thing, this proof, we started with x not equals to 1. We have seen that this is convergent when x lies between 0 and 1. Of course, if x equals to 0, value is 1. And again, from this same result, it is clear that if x greater than equals to 1, the sequence is divergent. The second sequence, which is a very known and very important sequence, series of real numbers, that is summation n equals to 1 to infinity 1 by n to the power p. This converges if p greater than 1 and diverges if p less than equals to 1. Note one thing, that even if p equals to 1, each term, that the nth term is 1 by n. Now 1 by n, this sequence is actually converging. But when we consider the series summation 1 by n, that series is a divergent series. The proof follow that theorem 4. Just consider summation k equals to 0 to infinity 2 to the power k into 1 by 2 to the power k into p, because instead of n we just put 2 to the power k. A little bit of algebra will give us summation k equals to 0 to infinity 2 to the power k into 1 minus p, which is nothing but summation 1 by 2 to the power k into p minus 1. Now it is clear that if p greater than 1, this is again a geometric series, and which is converted with common ratio half. So in this case with common ratio 1 by 2 to the power p minus 1, so it converges if and only p greater than 1, and it cannot converge when p is less than 1. And the last one, that is summation n equals to 1 to infinity 1 by n log n whole to the power p, show that this converges if p greater than 1 and diverges if p less than equals to 1. Now we know that the logarithm function is monotonic, which implies that 1 by n log n is decreasing as n increases. Hence we can easily apply theorem 4, that when p greater than 1 and replacing n by 2 to the power k, a little bit of algebra will give us 1 by log 2 whole to the power p, which is outside the summation sign, and summation k equals to 0 to infinity 1 by k to the power p. Just now we have proved that summation 1 by k to the power p is converges if p greater than 1 and it diverges if p less than equals to 1. So the result just follows from the previous examples. So as a reference, I always like to study Walter Rudin's book Principles of Mathematical Analysis, which is a very nice and lucid book on real analysis. So today we have learned something about series of real numbers, and we have defined what is the meaning of a series of real numbers, and we see that everything right from the definition and also some results, proof of few theorems, everything can be deduced from the similar concept that we have learned when we studied sequences of real numbers. It is clear that a series can also be treated as some kind of sequence, and hence we can do this thing. We have also studied a few interesting series of real numbers which are very, very important and which are very useful in real life. And in many situations, in many theorems, in probability or real analysis or asymptotic theory, we will use this idea of sequences of real numbers, and of course there we will use in terms of sequence of or series of random variables. So in the next talk we will discuss few more important theorems on series of real numbers.